thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Beth Keener, and I'm here with Blair Morgan, VP of Sales at Hexagon's Asset Lifecycle Intelligence Division, and James Alfieri, Technical Knowledge Management Leader at Cargill. And today we'll discuss how Hexagon's industry-leading component content management systems are helping digital transformation initiatives. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today. How are you?
Great. Great. How are you?
Great, wonderful. Now that I'm sitting down with you, I could not be more thrilled. We have so much to jump into, so I'm going to start off with our first question. So James, if you'll kick it off for me. Last year, we spoke on the recent acquisition of AcceleratorKMS into the Hexagon family. So can you give us an update on how it's going and how it's being integrated into the portfolio?
Sure. Yeah, so in Cargill, we were actually already a customer of AcceleratorKMS prior to the acquisition. As well as a customer of Hexagon's SDX system. And so today, I would say that not a whole lot has changed as a result of the acquisition. We have still maintained a lot of focus on the core use cases that led us to those selections when we made them years ago. However, we are excited about what the future of this organization is going to look like and the help that it can bring to us. For example, just learning more about what Hexagon has to offer that I didn't know, including some things that I learned already this morning. We see a lot of opportunity as we continue to push deeper into our use case library and things that we want to pursue on being able to take advantage of an organization like Hexagon and all that they have to offer, which will help us meet the needs of those use cases.
Where do we stand there with you, sir?
Well, I think that, James kind of hit it on the head there. One of the things that, we were acquired about a year ago now. In fact, last Wednesday, the employees of AcceleratorKMS became Hexagon employees. And so we're just completing the transition. And I think one of the things that we recognize when we're dealing with multinational companies like Cargill is such a demanding environment that you work in with so many different countries. I think it's 70 different countries, right? And so many different languages. And the infrastructure that we had was really not sufficient to support you. And so this acquisition really represents the ability for us to come alongside, or to Hexagon to come alongside us and make sure that we've got the right level of infrastructure. Things that you mentioned already, Hexagon University, sort of language support, the ability to have folks in different regions, whether it be APAC or China. We have operations all over the world now to match yours. And so I think that's a really strong element. The other thing is, we've been working on different projects together from the beginning, and I noticed that one example is remember the Lotto project that we did? Yeah, that was kind of your idea, and we were able to respond to that. Well, it turns out that one of the products that Hexagon has, called J5, it has the missing piece that we don't have, which is the ability to control the lockout tagout. So our system allows the user to navigate through the lockout tagout process in a very consistent way, which I know is important to you. But also with the J5 edition, it allows us to control whether the equipment is locked out and tagged out properly, and then the return to service for that. So it's a very complementary service.
Well, it sounds very integrated as well already, but you guys have a lot more to look forward to. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, one Cargill objective has been to improve operations, and a major drive behind that was to standardize work. So how about you guys talking about AcceleratorKMS and how that has helped?
Sure. Yeah, so one thing about Cargill, it's a huge organization. Blair was alluding to it. So we have over 150,000 employees, well over 1,000 just operating locations, plant locations in 70 different countries. And so the scale of Cargill is huge, and one of the things we acknowledge is taking advantage of that size, we probably do everything well somewhere, but when you go to any given location, we don't do everything well anywhere. And so one of the things that really led us to KMS to begin with is this concept of we want to capture our global knowledge in a way that we can share it broadly and really drive those things that are critical that we need to do from a safety and reliability and people performance perspective, make sure that we capture those and get them to the people that need them in a way that's standard and reliable. And so KMS has been a huge help on that. The ability to create these global shared standards where we can implement procedures, have the guidelines, have the basic structure down, but still have the ability to localize it as needed, which will always be needed since we don't have 1,000 cookie cutter locations at the site, has been instrumental in being able to think about how do we really eat this elephant of such a huge organization that's grown up through acquisition and organically over 155 years and actually meet those needs.
James, you've talked before about, I know you've got different examples of how Accelerator has helped you to standardize work, which I think you've said often. I heard it first from you, we need to improve our operations, and the best way to do that is to standardize work. So do you have examples of that?
Yeah, I mean, so one that just immediately jumps to mind, and it's an idea of, or it illustrates the idea of how it can feel like something simple, but has a huge impact. And so as you think about, so the business I represent, which is our egg supply chain business, we operate about 550 locations around the world. And one thing we do at basically every single one of those is we unload trucks of hazardous material that we use within our processes. And so recently had an example of where a common hazardous material that we use, which is highly flammable, we were working on developing this template procedure for how to unload that truck. A lot of the work in this case started in our North American locations and involved our deep subject matter experts, whether it be within that manufacturing technology or EHS as well. And then we recently had an opportunity to take this template to a location in China and uncovered that they had opportunities that they weren't aware of on how we could make that process safer for that location. And so it's a great example of not only are we crossing site boundaries, but we're crossing geographic boundaries and really driving the change and improvement that we want to do globally.
Well, okay, so I do have a final question for you. How is Cargill embracing digital transformation, and how do you plan to use technology to improve human performance? Because I know we talk so much about AI, so how are we improving the human side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the most important thing. And so I think within Cargill, certainly within my enterprise, we really see technology as a key enabler of better human performance, of really unlocking the human potential of our employees. And so what that really means is we need to find ways that we can use technology to make people's jobs more engaging, more rewarding, more entertaining. And really what that looks like, first and foremost, is we need to ensure that people have the right information at the right time where they need it. And so historically, that was always reliant either on word of mouth or on something that was written down somewhere that was impossible to find. And in our operating models always grew up of, well, you're going to be around for 30, 35 years, and eventually you'll figure that out. Well, in today's environment, in today's workforce, that doesn't work. And so having digital solutions that help us immediately fill that gap is critical. But then on top of that, we think about, we also need to find ways that we can use technology to eliminate the mundane, the boringly routine, the things that we can automate out that would normally turn somebody's brain off, to free up their time to turn their brains on and really use their power as a human to make our performance better, make our customers' experiences better, and ultimately improve our profitability as an organization.
Blair, any final thoughts?
Well, you mentioned AI, and I think that's a key enabler to making sure that people have the information at their fingertips. And there's technology advancements that we know we can make based on the current suite of technology that we have. Just even simply integrating the components together, like I mentioned earlier, J5, I think that's going to be a key part of this. And then, of course, the smart digital reality, building that digital presence that covers the asset lifecycle from start to finish, I think is also going to be an area that Cargill's going to be able to benefit from. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do together.
I look forward to it as well.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. I already feel the simpatico nature that's happening right here. So best of luck with everything and working together, continuing to work together. And we appreciate you giving your time to us today. So
My pleasure. Thank
Appreciate
you.
And to our viewers out there, you can learn more by visiting hexagon.com for the latest news and stories from across Hexagon. We thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.